Tonight on Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. We recap all the action from the Magic Mile. We talk with the drivers over at Team Dillon Esports. We take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. This is Countdown to Green. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and joined with us, as always, we have Alan Cabana and Blake McCandless here on Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. And you know what, you two?
What?
Well, you're gonna know. It's Pocono. No? No? All right, well, while we get ready for Pocono, let's go and check out what happened in New Hampshire.
And we're happy that you're with us for tonight's Pocono Setup Shop 101. Pace car off and in. Jordy Lopez leads off of 4. Let's go racing at New Hampshire. They all come marching down to pit road. Again, more cars continue to stay out a little bit longer, gives them that much more security on being able to go scheduled distance. Malik Ray going to go right back to the bumper of the 95 Chevrolet. The 7 looks to the inside, will not make the dive there. Now goes to the bumper again, and the 7 just trying to go through the 95 at this point. Halfway and now all the way clear. New race leader at the end of lap 74. Garrett Lowe leads his first lap of the Pocono Setup Shop 101. 3 underneath. Here's where the contact going to be just a nose up, and as Bobby come down, maybe 43 comes up. It's the staggering that just gets him out of line, and the actual spin happened with the 77 and the 54 in the bottom. There's the 4 into the outside wall, and it is a mess on the backstretch for another late race yellow. Novak, the 75 on the inside of row 2. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go, and it's a mighty start for the 15 car. This race is official. The battle for second has Novak on the inside of Strauss. The battle behind them for 4th sees Tinsley fight with Michael Conti, but all that matters up front is Garrett Lowe, entered tonight 14th in the points and outside of the playoffs with 2 races to go. He'll come off a turn 4 with a golden ticket in hand. Garrett Lowe wins the Pocono Setup Shop 101.
Back to Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. And you know what? I promise I won't have any bad dad jokes going forward. That scares Alan and Blake away.
I think it ruined all the technology when you made the joke, but we'll go with Poca yes instead of Poca no. How does that sound?
That's fair. You agree with that, Blake?
That works with me. That I think we can all get on board with that.
All right, well, let's talk about the playoff standings.
All right, well, that is the big theme coming into tonight. It is the regular season finale, and we're going to give you a layout of how things stack up going into tonight. You can see the layout right now. Nick Ottinger and Graham Boland, the only 2 drivers that are in on points, with Malik Ray, Parker White, 2 of those drivers that have a lot of ground to make up. 24 points to try and find their way into the postseason. So a lot can happen. And again, Alan, we continue to talk about it. It is all about getting the job done. You have to win. There are a lot of drivers who are going to be feeling that pressure tonight.
Absolutely. And you think about, the drivers there. You can see Malik Ray. The night he had, how he's plus 53. Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom of that left column, Blake, and see just how close when we're talking the regulation and everything and Wyatt Tinsley, what they have to do. What do you see there in those two columns?
The biggest thing I see is just a lot of separation in trying to get above that top 20 cut line. As we take a look at the team standings, a lot of ground made up. I think one team is starting to rise probably a little more than anybody else, Alan.
Appropriately named, Rise Esports for the second week in a row has jumped 3 spots in the standings, so that's good down there around 9th. But look at the top of the standings. Team Dillon still killing it, but William Byron Esports, they're making it up. They're closing that gap just a little, just 24 points out. And Junior Motorsports, they are within a rate. Remember, these standings go throughout the end of the full season, so 5 more races to go for them. A lot of pride on the line in the team standings as well, so much on the line, whether you're a driver trying to get in the playoffs, team standings trying to get a trophy, or if you're just trying to stay in the Coke Series.
Well, let's talk about team standings trying to get a trophy, because I'm sure there's one team that was on your radar when you were thinking about New Hampshire.
Oh, you have to look at the day that Jim Beaver Esports had. You're in victory lane, right? And you got to celebrate that. Garrett Lowe gets the win. Everybody's celebrating. It was a good sort of revenge win, if you will, for what happened to him in the beginning. But then you look on the other side of the team. Malik Ray picked an awful day to have an awful day. I just feel so bad for the driver because he's been so good this year, been on the cusp of winning. But now look where he is when we showed the standings, because of Garrett Lowe's win, because of where Jimmy Mullis is getting in the top 20, able to count his win. Malik Ray had a terrible day last time we were at the track. Therefore, he is now on the outside looking in and needs a lot of help to make the playoffs, Blake.
Well, that he does, and I think with that, the desperation is starting to set in, and you're going to see drivers who handle that in totally different ways. We saw Garrett Lowe got bumped out of the way at Nashville for the win. He comes back New Hampshire, makes a statement, takes his ticket into the playoffs. But I think you already saw it at New Hampshire, that desperation is already here, that feeling that you have to win, that there's only 1 or 2 more chances to make the playoffs. This is the regular season finale. It is it for these drivers. And I think with that, you're going to see a lot of bold moves, a lot of very interesting strategy calls. And again, everybody is going to have a lot of aggression tonight. 60 laps to get it done. It's not a lot of time if you're in one of those spots where you need a win to make the playoffs.
Yes, desperation is kicking in. The pressure is here, but I'm telling you, there's one team that is on top, Team Dillon, that's probably feeling a little less pressure. So why don't we check in with the drivers, Jordy and Tucker.
When I got the call from Team Dillon Esports, I was really excited. They had a great offer, and it seems like a great program to be in. They have a lot of great partners that I'm excited to work with this year, and I can't wait to get started with my teammate Jordy.
I was contacted from Austin Craven, the manager for Team Dillon Esports, and he was a very nice guy, and he gave me a lot of opportunities to expand, and I liked what he had to offer, and I signed with him.
To be successful in Road to Pro and in the Coke Series, I think it's all about people. In 2022, I was able to get with a really good team, and we all gelled really well together. And I think we all were able to work really well together. And in doing that, the success kind of came easy, and it was expected rather than something that we were chasing.
Honestly, I've been doing this for like 10 years. I've never really had the opportunity to make it into this series because like life stuff, but kind of feels good that it's at a perfect timing. I'm glad to be here. I feel like I'm the best that I've ever been, and I'm gonna just try to do the best that I can.
I would say my biggest challenge in the series is Jordy Lopez. We work together in Road to Pro through the qualifying series, and we run the same setups, and we're on Team Dillon Esports together. So all of our stuff is shared with each other, so I can look at his inputs, he can look at mine, and although that helps us get stronger and we push each other to be better, it makes it difficult to compete with him. I would say Jordy's my rival. With how close we are on track and how close we are in practice, we're always wanting to beat each other every week.
Yes, there's one driver in particular, and he's sitting behind the camera, Malik Gray, and I'm trying to beat him desperately. It's a friendly thing. Like I've known him for like 9 years already. So like he's like my best friend on here, and it's all fun. But I'm really just trying to be ahead of my teammate. As selfish as it sounds, you're always trying to at least be ahead of your teammate, so it looks better for you.
Making the Final Four at Homestead would be coming full circle for me. I was at the finale as a spectator for the 2022 championship, and even though I'd already made the Contender Series, it really fueled me to compete at a high level in the Coke Series, seeing all the perks that the Championship 4 contenders got to do and the awesome stage that they were able to compete on.
Yeah, like I haven't thought about it too much because it's my first year, so my high goal is to just make the playoffs and just go from there. That's all I can really do, you know?
I think the most important thing for me to compete in this series and compete for wins is not just hard work, but hard work in the right areas. That means qualifying well, making sure we're up to speed in the race, and then mostly the mental aspect of racing the series at such a high level. I don't want to be intimidated by any of the other guys that have been around for a long time or get pushed around or anything like that. I think it's important for me to just come into the race with a clear mindset to compete.
Oh man, I really can't tell you. I mean, it's all about just like executing and not making mistakes and just hoping that you don't get involved in a wreck. That's all you can really do, and just hope for the best, you know?
This is by far the story of the year in the Coke Series. The Team Dillon drivers leading the series standings as a team, but both of their rookie drivers being winners, being in championship contention. When you join the series, you got to make a statement, and to come in and win this early as they did, they both did that, and their best competition, as said, is each other. I love that aspect, guys. They're both going for a championship.
We love it when statements can be made, and I love all the positive energy. So let's keep it going. Let's see the statements that you're making at home, because it's time for Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. This is where we get to see your rigs at home. Our first one is from Ashrif, and let's just say, Alan, this is ultra wide.
Super big, ultra wide. That's got a new Logitech Direct Drive Pro wheel as well. A little messy on the desk, though. You know, there's these so much positive. I want to see a little cleaner setup, but not bad.
And the next one is from Blanchy. Ooh, lots of monitors, Blake.
Well, I gotta say, the way the monitor is set up, you have a really wide view on the right side, but not the left side. Interesting, but definitely something that I think can work. And, you know, always able to use that desk as well, you know, multi-use.
This next one is from Christopher Allen. I'm loving the blue chair.
Yeah, I love the chair, but this is after my own heart. So much NASCAR memorabilia there. I could spend hours just looking at that. All those little cars. I have probably just about all of them. But as for the setup, 4 monitors. Blackout background behind them. Really pretty. A lot of cool posters. Great sports room there.
Yeah, you got Muhammad Ali inspiring as well on the track there. Their next one is from Ethan Blake. And let's just say we have a little tiny monitor, or laptop actually, part of this setup.
Yeah, I was about to say, we've seen a lot of kind of man caves more than rigs here these last couple of shots, but very nicely done as well. A simple Logitech wheel to get you going, a small curved monitor that he's got that's basically the same setup I have, so very nicely done. A couple die casts to finish it off as well.
Yeah, and the CD player. You can't forget that. Philip here.
Wow.
We got an iRacing fan, right, Alan?
This is awesome. Should have saved this for a rig setup for Esports Super Cup Series, but a full cockpit. Look at that. Even for a giant iRacing sign on the wall. Free advertising, guys. That's great. They even got a roll bar for padding the upper part of that roll cage. I don't know how intense it gets with these racing rigs, but you got the full roll bar there just in case. Little padding. Even better.
Philip, we love it. And Scott is our last one to round out these threads. And what are you thinking of his threads here, Blake?
Not too bad, one of those setups, so maybe we could use a little bit of cleanup on the desk, but also, kind of looking at the bottom left, I don't want to call out fire hazards or anything, but, we got to work on the cable management a little bit there with that power strip down there. So, Scott, we need to clean it up just a little bit.
Clean it up just a little bit and send us more of your rigs. We're on all the socials. Use the hashtag eNASCAR and we'll see it. And your rigs could be seen right here on Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's. So make sure to send them our way. All right, we have Pocono up ahead, but yes, we want to know what to expect for the night. We'll get to that a little later. Last year, if you remember, with Pocono, it got a little messy. A crazy finish when Casey Kerwin took over the lead from Zach. So let's take a look back at the open mic because there was lots of good chatter happening.
Once we take the green flag, either the yellow or if we get to the white, then the checkered will end it, but there is no more attempts. This is it.
Again, implications here because Novak was clearly ahead when that caution came out. He'll have control of this next restart.
Come on, man.
Just breathe. Just breathe.
Whoa! Come on, man!
Save fuel.
There's nothing I can do there. Just a sitting duck.
Alright, I promised him I won't take him inside in turn 1. He told me when he's restarting.
Done for. I'm fine with that, dude.
Keegan knows.
Yeah, I told him start.
I'm just getting screwed over every time we restart. Just cools everyone's tires off and it puts us in the window of short run.
Yep, deep breath here. You got this. You've been here a million times before.
Final overtime restart attempt, pace car down and in. Zach Novak takes the green flag, 2 laps to go, and Leahy follows behind him.
Great jump. You're clear. He is not. Don't change lanes. You're good now. You are clear. He is not. He is getting a push from Donnie. They're separated.
Clear by 2. You and him.
Alright, I just gotta hope they wreck.
10-4, we'll see what happens here. Just keep driving.
I'm running the
No
low
pressure
line
out back. Yep.
He is close enough to take a shot here, so all about the exit here.
Come on, man.
Contact in the final corner, side by side. Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging, and to the line.
He is gonna wall you. You got him. It's tight, but you're gonna get him. I think you got him.
No, I didn't.
It's Casey Kerwin by 6/1000ths of a second.
You got him. Nice job.
Nice job!
Let's go! Finally!
That fucking sucks. I figured it. Oh, your exit right there.
Was not gonna freaking lose that race!
Let's go! Hell of a drive, brother. Awesome job.
Can't get it to spin!
I love hearing how much of a team sport this is. People think about sim racing as just, somebody in their own rig, but it takes a team to make it happen. Somebody coaching Zach Novak to that restart, and you can hear the elation for everyone involved there at the Casey Kerwin camp. It definitely takes a team to make it happen. But again, it shows you how much pressure these guys are under, especially in a high-stakes situation like tonight where the playoffs are set after tonight.
Yes, definitely. I just love just hearing everything that they have to say during the race. And, Alan, and now that we know what we could probably expect from some of the drivers going into Pocono and what they're going to be saying behind the wheel, why don't we look at the trends of what happens at Pocono?
Sure, because Casey Kerwin will play into some of those trends because we've been to Pocono before. This is the 11th race at Pocono in the Coke Series. It's actually the 5th race on this particular scan of Pocono. So that just goes to show you how long we've been racing here at Pocono, multiple versions of it. This was the first win of the year for 8 of the 10 Pocono race winners, right? So despite being run as the 8th round or later in a season, it's a pretty late one for a lot of first-time winners, but this is when they tend to get that first W of the season. 2 race winners went on to win the championship that year. Michael Conti back in 2014. Look at that nice blue scheme there. And then, of course, Casey Kerwin, that controversial win last year, he took that all the way to the title. So there's a little something to winning Pocono. Not bad if you want to win that championship. Pocono is the 6th track to host the cutoff race for the regular season of the Coke Series. You can see the variety we've thrown at these drivers. Lincoln, Daytona, I think I saw Bristol in there, Michigan maybe. I mean, a bunch of different tracks. Pocono is the 6th different one that's been the cutoff race. So need a lot of versatility to race in the Coke Series. The series champion has never won the cutoff race that year. Only half of the race winners even made the playoffs. So remember, Pocono wasn't the cutoff race last year. Series champ has never won the cutoff race for that year. And a lot of times the cutoff race winner doesn't even go on to the playoffs. So maybe a surprise winner tonight is what we're saying. And this was the last race of the This was the last race that 5 of the 6 cutoff race winners won that season. What we're trying to tell you is some people win this race and then don't win again the rest of the time. So I know every win is good, but statistically, historically, winning this race means you may not win again. So we'll see what driver wants to take this checkered flag in the cutoff race tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. So why not just pile in the different scenarios? Because we talked to, Mullis, I feel like is playing a huge role in what can happen here tonight. Right, Blake?
He is playing a significant role, and this is what I love, diving down into the numbers of how this postseason could potentially take shape. Now, of course, you can look right here. These are the drivers who are looking to point their way in. Right now, there's 2 slots for that, for those drivers to point in. Nick Ottinger's not going to be chased down pretty much, so he is essentially locked in, but a lot can change there. And, of course, right beneath the cut line, you have Ray, White, Cozy, and Busa, who can make up some ground depending on who wins tonight if somebody falls out. The next thing we're looking at are the drivers who need a win to get in. They're not going to be able to point their way in. They can't rely on that. It's Garrett Maines, it's Dylan Duvall, Guess, Leahy, Vincent, and Tyler Gary. So they're pretty much in the same scenario as these other drivers that need a win to get into the postseason. There's no way for them to point their way in. And then beneath that 20th place threshold, again, you need to be top 20 in points for that win to make you playoff eligible. And I would say, guys, about down to Kevin King is where you could realistically make a case that if they are able to win, that they would also get the points necessary to get to the top 20. It'd be really tough if you're Novak, Keister, or Holmes to be able to make that happen. But there's so many different agendas, and we have about 15 or 16 drivers who are not locked in right now that could be after tonight.
And there's the Jimmy Mullis factor.
Exactly.
Oh, well, you bring up a great point, Alan and Camille, is the fact that Jimmy Mullis right now is just 4 points above the top 20 cut line. Now, remember, he has a win by courtesy of his win in Nashville, but if he falls out of the top 20, that makes another spot that you could point your way in, so it would take 3 on points, assuming that we don't also get a new winner. So we could have 1 driver point their way in, we could have 3. A lot can happen tonight, to say the least.
There are so many possibilities. I know we're all going to be watching Mullis very closely, but with all these things that are going in the driver's head, I think it's best that we get a driver in here and give us some perspective with, sim racers and what may be going in their head. So let's hear from an IRL racer. We have Ryan Vargas. Hello, welcome to Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. Ryan is NASCAR Xfinity and Truck Series driver and Charlotte Phoenix driver and content creator. Ryan, you've been listening to the show. You heard us talk about all the different scenarios, how crucial Pocono is. So if you were a driver in this series and you're aware of all of this, how do you put a straight, face on and head to the track and keep focused?
Man, well, the biggest thing that I say to whenever I talk about iRacing is the fact that iRacing, while it may not be as physical as being inside a race car, it is just as mental, if not more mentally taxing on these drivers. When you're in a race car, it's like riding a bike, right? You're not thinking about riding a bike, you're just doing it. When you're on iRacing, you have a lot of outside factors. You have people in your Discord server talking to you. You see all the things, you see all the numbers on the side of your screen. So all these drivers need to find a way to put all that stress aside and just focus on one goal, and that is making the playoffs.
All right, making the playoffs and making it through the track. And with that, Ryan, we're going to have you hold on with us right here while Blake takes us through the track.
All right, this is the tricky triangle again. We remember watching it a couple of weeks ago, or last weekend, I guess I should say, in the NASCAR Cup Series. 3 turns that are all unique. And again, I'm not going to bring that subject up with Ryan because I know that is a contested subject on how many turns this place may have, but nevertheless, entirely different corners, a racetrack that is very difficult to master, and especially with this next-gen car with fixed setups, there's going to be a lot of tight competition. There's going to be a lot going on, and we're going to take you for a lap around it, which, Ryan, I'll turn this over to you because you probably know this place better than anybody here on the panel.
Oh man, this long straightaway right here, we're taking the green flag right here. This straightaway feels like it goes on forever. You can read a book, have a sip of coffee. You see Michael Coffey here shifts up to 5th gear. Heavy braking going into here, downshifts to 4th. A lot of banking right here. This is based off of the old Trenton Speedway. You can really hustle the car through here. Get it off the corner, get a nice straight drive, gets a little free off of turn number 1, no biggie. And now another long straightaway here, just focusing on making sure you can get this entry correct. Still running 4th gear all the way through. And then you have the tunnel turn, which is based off of one of the corners in Indianapolis. Very bumpy. You see the car rattle over those bumps through that tunnel turn. And now we get the short stretch right here going into turn number 3. This corner is based off one of the corners at the Milwaukee Mile. This is a long, sweeping corner. Very easy to overdo it on the throttle here. Very easy to rush it. Conti gets through there, no problem whatsoever. He's a champ at this. He knows what he's doing by now. And that's lap around the Pocono Raceway.
All right, thank you for that, Ryan. Ryan, one thing that we like to do in here is our picks. And although I like to brag a lot, I have no reason to because Alan is in the lead with our picks points. Congratulations, Alan, so far. But you know what? Things could turn around. Let's talk about tonight's picks. I was really confident going into that, Blake, but you're also not that confident going into tonight. Who's your pick?
You know what? I am confident going into tonight because if there is anybody I know in sim racing that has the clutch gene, it is this driver right here from Hagerstown, Maryland, Michael Cozy Jr., back up against the wall. He is the type of person that you want driving your race car if there's anything on the line. So I'm going to take Cozy to win and get his way into the playoffs tonight.
Not a bad pick, probably the wrong pick because I've been making the right picks every time. And I'm going with the legend himself from Charlotte, North Carolina. This series, Kevin Harvick, it's Michael Conti. He's already won this season. Looking for a championship. He's going to go out there and win tonight. He's done it before. He can do it again and keeps and protects my point lead, Camille.
Yes, I feel like you like to go on the side of least resistance. What you know is a pretty solid pick, but I'm going to go with the solidest of picks from all of us. Casey Kerwin, you know, we saw that finish last year, and I'm hoping that he can do it again, but take a real lead at the start of it so I don't have a heart attack throughout the race. Now with that, Ryan, I'd love to hear who you are picking for the race today.
Man, I'm going to go with someone who hasn't won a race this year. Someone who you guys may not think about. I'm going to go with Parker White. He's been very fast throughout the season, hasn't gotten a win yet, is in the contention to find his way into the playoffs. And with his big win this past Sunday in FTF, I think this might be a race for him.
All right. I love it. And, you know, this just in, our producer just told us that the pole sitter is Nick Ottinger. What do you all think about that?
Well, business as usual, I would say. Not the first time that he's won a pole this season, but of course, when you mention he is one of those drivers that has to point his way in, but there's no better way to start it than tonight.
And I know I want my pick to succeed, but I would love a little. We went through all the storylines, everything possible that'll win and in. Jimmy Mullis, is he going to get in the top 20? All that stuff. I love drama and storylines more than I love point lead. So if my pick doesn't work out, I hope we at least get some drama.
Yes. And I would say. And I would also say, we talk about the rookies and the veterans, Ottinger being a veteran, no surprise here. He's going to be an easy one to watch tonight.
All right, an easy one to watch. I think we're all going to be watching very closely. Do we think we're going to see a close wreck or possibly close finish at the end? Yes or no? Quickly.
I mean, come on. Yes, we are going to see a repeat of what we saw last year with Kerwin and Novak. Maybe not the same scenario, but we're not going to know who's winning this race right down until they reach start-finish line.
You agree with that, Alan? You're just a yes?
Oh, absolutely. Look, there's a chance at $100,000 on the line. You only get that chance if you make the playoffs. You're going to do everything you can to make sure you are a part of that field, and that means everything.
All right. Well, Ryan, we hope that you enjoy the show. We enjoyed having you here with us on Countdown to Green. It's always great when we get a guest in. Alan, Blake, best of luck with your pick, but maybe not best of luck, because I want to win. And obviously, for all of you at home, thank you so much for watching Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's. Be sure to stay tuned right after this break, because Pocono starts then.
I need to try it first.
Wendy's is open until midnight or later, so come get that Baconator.
Give me one honk if you want a Baconator.
Hey, give me 2 honks if you want Tyler to make it.
Go night mode. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's Baconator.
Side by side, Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging, and to the line.
The countdown is over. Tonight, we answered the only question that matters.
Come on,
Same.
I didn't. What do you think? You stupid.
Fine.
Nice job. Let's go. Finally.
There's nowhere to go.
Right in front of you still. They're in the middle of the track. Here's a Potter. Definitely need to fire them.
Who is in?
The road to $300,000 returns to the Keystone State for the final race of the regular season. Where tonight from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 14 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Well, as always, we're happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us right here on the iRacing Esports Network. And as always, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Blake McCandless, and special guest in the booth tonight, Ryan Vargas. Ryan, first, appreciate you joining us early for Countdown to Green, and appreciate you being willing to hang out with us for the most critical race so far this year.
Man, talk about critical. I mean, this whole season has been nothing but exciting. There's been a lot of surprise winners, a lot of comers and goers. But this, especially being a fixed setup, I don't know what to expect.
Hey, there's so many different things, Blake, to talk about, and you guys covered it so well in Countdown to Green. The win in your ins, the points your way ins, the fixed setup, the Pocono drama from last year. It all comes together into what is going to be a heavyweight fight here tonight, where in about an hour and a half time, we'll know the 10 drivers who will fight for the championship here in 2023.
Well, and everybody's feeling it. And as you go through the season, you can kind of write off some bad days and think, well, you know, maybe there's next time. Well, there isn't a next time. It is all about tonight. That starts with qualifying, how you warm up, the fact that we don't have to worry about setups. These drivers know it is all in their hands to try and take it tonight. So you have to be able to handle that pressure and be able to go out and execute against the best sim racers in the world.
Big pressure moments. We all remember the Kerwin result last year to the line. That was the difference that allowed him to get into the playoffs to lead to that championship at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So every race all season long, consequential, no doubt. But here tonight, I think, is the most critical of them all. So qualifying has drawn to a close. The cars are standing by. All we need is somebody to get tonight underway. So, Ryan, while we've got you up here with us, I'm going to anoint you, if it's okay with you, as our honorary starter for tonight's race. Let's get these guys rolling down trackside. Give us those 3 most famous words in motorsports.
Man, that's a lot of pressure you just put on me, but I might as well do it. So, drivers, start your engines.
We take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid for the 4th time this season. Nick Ottinger is on pole position, slated to start alongside Garrett Lowe P2, not on the grid. Low will start from pit road. Dylan Duvall with Stuart Haas Esports at a 41 going to be joined alongside the William Byron Esports 97 of Matt Busa. They'll make up row number 2. Row 3 tonight will see Bobby Zelensky's 18 car alongside the number 20 of Wyatt Tinsley in P6. Row number 4, 7th starting spot tonight, it is Jimmy Mullis in the Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku 46. He needs a good points night for his race win to still count, and then it's the Charlotte Phoenix 48 at Graham Bolin to his outside. And then rounding out your top 10 tonight, the FGR Excel E-Racing 14 at Joey Brown, side by side with the Latardi Sports 40 of Dylan Alt.
Several drivers not going to be too pleased with Jimmy Mullis starting that far up, but these two drivers have nothing to worry about. Already wins in the bank for both Tucker Minter and Michael Conti. That'll make up road number 6 for Team Dillon and Junior Motorsports. Brandon McKissick, heartbreak last week for Latardi Esports. He starts on the inside, or outside rather, of row 7 alongside Keegan Leahy in the number 23 for 23.11. Rolling off 15th, Parker White needs a win to get in more than likely tonight, along with Timmy Holmes, who is having a late season surge for RFK Racing. Derek Bordeaux for ESC will start on the inside of row 9. 18th will go Steven Wilson for Stuart Haas Esports. He's been secure with the win for quite some time. The other ESC entry in Cody Bias will start behind his teammate, along with Jordy Lopez Jr. His playoff hopes are set in 20th.
Casey Curran will start 21st tonight. That means all 10 drivers currently in on the playoff grid starting in the top 21. He's alongside Derek Justice in the 31 car on row 11. Row number 12 is going to see Ryan Doucette lined up alongside Kevin King. These drivers going to be right in the middle of the mayhem. Lucky row 13. It's the second of the Rise Esports cars, this time the 75 and Novak alongside the 2 of Corey Vincent. Row number 14 we'll see Caden Honeycutt's RFK 17 alongside the Joe Gibbs Race Seat 54 of Daniel Falkingham. And through your top 30, Colin Bowden's in the 69, and it's the exit 4 of Ryan Luza.
Starting in 31st tonight is Garrett Maines. Michael Guest will go from the 32nd starting spot. 33rd tonight will be represented by Colin Keister. Michael Cozy Jr. rolls off from 34th. Starting 35th tonight, Malik Ray. Donovan Strauss will go from 36th. Again, a number of grid penalties for this race amongst many of these drivers, including Femi Olot, Alan Bowes in 38th. And your final row tonight, represented by just Tyler Gary. Vicente Salas was suspended for tonight. But Nick Ottinger, we are 1 to go. Second week in a row that we're talking to you. 8th pole this season. How are you looking to put 60 laps together here tonight at Pocono?
Well, make it to turn 1 and then, complete the rest of the 59 laps after that. Happy to bring our Logitech G team, at least to the front here, try to salvage a, good finish for pretty much points racing tonight. So, gotta thank my William Byron Esports team, William Byron and, Brandon Wilkinson, Brendan Hastings for putting us in the spot this season, and hopefully we close it out with the win.
All right, Nick, best of luck to you and your teammate that start on the front row.
Thank you.
Blake, we'll take a quick look at tonight's race analysis presented by Wendy. 60 laps on deck.
60 laps, but it is going to be all about keeping your track position. You have 3 sets of tires available, but may not matter. You have to be able to keep that track position. We're going to split this race just past the halfway point in terms of fuel.
Pace car going to be in this time. It is a William Byron Esports front row lockout led by the 25 of Ottinger. Let's go racing at Pocono. And they are going to push all the way down to turn 1. A couple of cars looking to the inside. It might be Doucette about 6-7 rows back, but for the most part, 2 by 2 as they fan out first time in turn 1. Those Logitech G Chevys still side by side, maybe an advantage to Busa on the outside line.
Well, you have to wonder again, Ottinger, he's pretty much in a good playoff scenario, so is he going to kind of play defender here for his teammate? Lets himself in line, gets up into second, but Matt Busa will change it up for the race lead and take the top spot as they're still side by side, third row on back.
And remember those red highlights left-hand side of your screen, those will denote who is already locked in to the playoffs. Your race winners, Zelensky, Minter, Wilson, Conti, Lopez, Kerwin, they all know already that they will fight for the better sum of that $300,000 prize and compete for the championship here this season. But again, it's not as simple as just win and get the job done. That's so complex, Ryan. We take a look at that live standings right-hand side of your screen. Again, tentatively, the 97 leading this race would bump him up. That would drop the 48 car down. Boland's right there in 4th, so it's not in Graham Boland's interest for Nick Conger to help Matt Bussa win this race. That's why there's so many things that we're going to be tracking all night.
I was going to say, thank goodness we have that live ticker on the right side there of your screen, and obviously the red markings on the drivers' names on the ticker as well. That's the biggest thing here is just, managing this race, making sure that you put yourself in the right position to capitalize on others' mistakes as well. You don't want these guys to capitalize. You don't want them to sneak out that extra win, because if they do, it could very well knock yourself out like it would for Boland here.
It's funny, Blake, we didn't really think, I think at least, that we were going to be in this scenario with so few points available on points to be able to get into the playoffs, right? We went so many weeks in a row with repeat winners, the likes of Zelensky, Minter, Kerwin, Conti. They are all starting to rack them up. But if you count Lopez, Mullis, and Lowe, 3 of the last 4 races have had first-time winners. So late in this regular season, that playoff picture has changed dramatically. And Matt Bussa, who we go on board with right now, is trying to do it again.
Well, and it's created a lot of drama tonight in a situation where Matt Bussa right now, of course, would be your race winner. He would get into the postseason, and that would put somebody out. We were just talking about Graham Boland, who's going to be on the outside looking in right now should this stand. But how about Wyatt Tinsley? We were talking about drivers that were in position and could use that win if they got or they could use that win to get into the top 20 of points. Wyatt Tinsley's one of those drivers as well. We know how important track position is going to be tonight, how difficult it can be to pass with how powerful the draft is in this next-gen car. So Tinsley, really well positioned to be one of those drivers, as well as what a save by Derek Bordeaux. A little bit of contact there with the 23 of Keegan Leahy. He drifts through turn number 1 and collects it, saves it there for Elliott Sadler Esports. What a save, and that continues to jumble him up behind. Here comes Kevin King down to the bottom.
Yeah, still not in the clear yet. Kevin King wants to take advantage, and it's going to be 3 wide off it into the tunnel turn. Smoke up the road. It's a spinner. Bowden sideways in front of the field. The 27 goes as well, and bias into the wall for an early yellow at lap 4. Funny enough, it did not come from the battle we were watching. I thought the 3 wide was going to be the troublesome spot, but it was a stack up in front of the action that we were looking at. We saw the smoke. Next thing you know, 2 cars were around and looked like a stack up may have been part of it. We'll wait to get a second look at that before we can make a judgment, but it'll be an early yellow after Matt Bussa was enjoying a big advantage out in front. Let's take a second look at this one, and Ryan, as the resident expert amongst us, take a look at what we're seeing.
Oh, man, well, right away, you saw how bunched up the field got right there. And just a checkup right there. The 54 checks up. The 27 has nowhere to go. Neither does the 69. They all just pile in. And unfortunately, the 27 was just a victim of circumstances. We're going to go on board here with the 51 here. Oh, man, you see the smoke up ahead. Everybody's checking up. Everybody's checking. Oh, my God. He just barely squeezes through there. But that's the product of the fixed setup, in my opinion. Everybody's right on top of each other. So if one guy makes a mistake, if one person makes a mistake, you're all going to get collected.
Well, and Ryan, I think this brings up a great point. You can always kind of see that smoke up the road, but you don't really see a whole lot of lifting right there. Is that just because you think, well, there could be smoke, but if I lift here, I run the risk of giving up a lot of spots if it's not something that's going to bring out a caution?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it a couple times this year where a car spins off track and there's no yellow, right? You need to make sure that you take advantage of that, of that, I guess you could say, that free track position, right? If you don't take advantage of that, you could find yourself losing 1, 2, 3, 4, even more spots. And in the long run, you're going to be screwed.
So tough break, not a ton of damage in those spins, but it's going to send a couple of drivers from the midfield to the back, and a good opportunity to remind you there is no better time than now with the playoffs on the horizon to stay up to date with the world of eNASCAR. If you want all the latest news and updates, scan the QR code on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and stay up to date with iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Let's get one more perspective of this from Malik Ray, who is somebody else fighting for their playoff life, looking for a race win here tonight on the inside to turn 2.
Oh man, all that smoke. Reminder, Malik didn't get to run a qualifying lap. He had to start at the back, and that is the product of that. He had to avoid all the chaos. That's the last thing you want to see when you're having to charge through the field like that.
Oh, and he gets through that wreck and just fell out of the server too. So all that is for naught. We'll see if he can get back in here.
That's tough. Malik Ray, if you take the wins out of the equation and we talk about points, 9th in the points. However, with all the race winners, Malik Ray not currently in the top 10 on the playoff grid. And of course, more specific to this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, if you want to learn more about this series, keep up to date with the schedule, the standing, the teams, and even info on how you could one day qualify to compete here on Tuesday nights, you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR. Of course, those live points updated on the left-hand side of your screen. Again, the 97 Abusa currently leading, moves him up. It drops the 48 down. I talk about standings versus playoff standings. Blake, right now, Graham Bolin, 11th on the playoff standings as they run, would be out. Normal standings, Graham Bolin, 6th, most points out of anybody this year. But again, with this late spring of new race winners in the last month or two, astounding that the guy that would be P6 in points would be out of the top 10 on the playoff grid.
Well, again, that reminds me of a couple of years ago. Casey Kerwin had a spectacular regular season. I think was 2nd or 3rd overall or so in the regular season points. Now, we do lock in a regular season champion should that situation arise and they don't get a win, but they already have a couple of wins. So that is how we talk about it all year in Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's. You need to be able to get the job done and be able to win, and that's how important it is because we only 10 make it into the postseason.
Only 10 to make it in, and if you're a fan of racing, it can go far beyond just the asphalt. A reminder that the World of Outlaws Dirt Racing video game is available now for all of your preferred systems, whether it be on the Xbox side of things with the One, the X, and the S, or a PS4 and a PS5 of the PlayStation side of things. Make sure you get involved. You can learn more at worldofoutlaws.game.com and mix it up. Master the asphalt here on the service, master the dirt on the console side, and maybe one day, after I'd say a long week, you'll be better sim racer than me. And then we'll see where your career takes you from that point. Lights out on top of the pace car. Again, the two drivers in on points tentatively entering tonight. Nick Ottinger, Graham Bolin having a good night. They sit in 2nd and 4th respectively. However, again, with Abusa leading, Graham Bolin's P4 not cutting it. And just an update, Malik Ray is back in the server. He is already 1 lap down. He's on track, so it's going to stay at -1. He should be able, I think, to catch the pack for the restart here, but he is the only car 1 lap down. Could be advantageous for him, Blake, if he gets a quick yellow, get a lucky dog.
Yep, all things considered, he's actually pretty lucky that he fell out under caution. Makes it a lot easier to try and make that lap back up.
So he may be hoping for a quick one to get back into this, and started 35th, was driving through the field. He's going to have to do it all over again as he will be 39th at 1 lap down. So for this restart, it is going to be once again those Logitech G Chevys on the front row with Busa in control. Great jump for the 97. Green flag back in the air. He's got 2 car lengths to turn 1. Side by side for a second. Tinsley tried to make it stick on the inside of Busa there. Couldn't do it, so Busa clear for the top spot. Tinsley does get 2nd, though, over Ottinger, who we think is trying to be a de facto linebacker and a blocker for the 97. So can Tinsley get up there and spoil the party for the 97? Your top 4 are single file. Behind them, Duval trying to get around a sliding Dylan Alt in the battle for 5th. And 3 wide, Jordy Lopez Jr. going the wrong way in the middle as they head to turn 3.
And again, these guys, with how the draft is working in this car, and the fact that, again, fixed setups, everybody is equal here, and everybody knows fixed setups can tend to bring the pack together, but even more so when everybody is at this elite level, everybody has all this speed. And I think with that, you're going to see kind of what we're seeing here, a ton of drivers starting to form up on the outside down these long straightaways, and especially here in turn 1, Ryan, the one thing I've been noticing with these races, is one car to the inside that may have been Joey Brown or Garrett Mays. Not exactly sure which of the 2 FGR Excel cars that was, and that is going to bring out the caution.
So So a second yellow. This will be very good news for Malik Ray, who we were just talking about, wanted this to get a quick lucky dog and rejoin the lead lap, but admittedly not seen any cars all the way around. Curious if it was a quick off to bring out the second yellow, but Matt Boost is going to have to slow down. He was, again, enjoying a decent advantage up at the front of the field. It's a net gain for Tinsley, who jumps up to P2. That could make the ensuing restart really interesting, but 2 quick cautions here to open this race, and we'll take a second look at what brings us under our second yellow.
So this is going to be Joey Brown. I forgot to mention which of those cars it was. It was indeed the 14 of Joey Brown. He and a good friend of Kevin King. You can see just how snappy these cars get. Oh, that's going to end Joey Brown's night. And what a horrific season this has been for Joey Brown after he stormed back through. He was one of the kind of OGs. Evan, I'm sure you remember him back in the Coke Series many years ago. Had a long break from sim racing, came back, stormed through all the Road to Pro ranks, stormed through the Contender Series with multiple wins, and we thought he was going to be somebody that could really contend for this championship, and unfortunately, whatever luck he found getting to the Coke Series, he has just lost it all here this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the only vet to return. We've also seen the likes of Kevin King, Ryan Doucette make returns to the series this season, but unfortunately for Joey Brown, that will end his night. That car has gone to the garage, and it'll be a DNF for the 14 car. He'll be the first of the 39 to not make it our scheduled distance. Well, Matt Boost is enjoying the view out front. Blake, let's see if we can dial him up on the radio.
All right, Matt, I know this is a big night for you. Need that win to get into the postseason, but so far, 10 laps in, you're in the best seat in the house. What's kind of going through your mind right now to try to approach these next 50 laps?
Yeah, right now we're just kind of treating it like a NIS fixed race. I run a lot of those every week, and those are fixed setup races. This is a fixed setup race. A lot of those races I spend some time up front and just trying to treat it like that, not let any nerves or pressure get to me, and hopefully the outcome is the same, finishing up front.
Well, with that, you say you're treating it like an NIS fixed race. What's kind of your thought when you approach a lot of those races? Is it keeping track position? Is it kind of looking behind you with what strategy everybody's going to be working with? I know Pocono can be an interesting track in itself for that, but what's kind of your approach with that? Are you thinking track position at all costs?
Yeah, that's going to be key for sure. 2 tires here is a little bit harder than other tracks. They only last about 8 to 10 laps, and then 4 tires has a pretty good advantage. But yeah, like in NAS, I try lots of different lines just to, 1, have fun, and 2, just experiment, try to see if I can find anything. And that's the line I'm running here in this race now, running a bit higher in turn 1 especially. And so far it's paying off.
I know everybody's kind of talked about the fixed setups and how you guys are kind of packed together. Do you think it's difficult to be the leader in this race versus what other races may be? Or that you can't pull away?
Yes and no. It's definitely probably going to be impossible to break the draft here. The advantage though of being a leader is you can run that higher line and get a nice run down the straightaway, and then that kind of almost cancels out the draft unless they start tandeming behind you. But I'll always take the lead over being P2, so hopefully we can just keep it that way.
All right, certainly so. We hope you end up there at the end of the night. Best of luck, Matt.
Thank you.
So far, so good for Matt Busa. He has led all 10, soon to be 11 laps completed of the 60 on the board here for tonight's race. We'll see if the lights go out on top of the pace car this time by. They do. So going green next time by, going to be the first start or restart of the night, into which we've kind of got a challenger on that front row again. Tinsley was able to overtake Ottinger from that 3rd spot. Could mean that Ottinger has the upper hand because he'll get that inside spot on row 2, or does it mean we'll see the 20 at Tinsley fight for the race lead? We've also mentioned, Ryan, in passing and talked about it all year, the fact that this is a fixed setup race versus an open setup race, and kind of just that is open setup races, drivers, teams, they can do whatever, right? Try to build these race cars, tune them in to each driver's specific wants and needs. You can't do that with a fixed setup. So what kind of challenge, it gives these drivers a little bit time off, right? The expedited calendar, we raced last week, they don't get that normal 2-week setup time, but you also don't get to tailor-made your car for yourself. So what are some of the challenges that these drivers are dealing with a fixed setup maybe?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Nobody has an advantage here, right? Everybody knows that they got what they got. So there's no way that you could really outsmart somebody when it comes to your setup, right? It really comes down to making sure that you get those laps in, get that repetition, and get used to get used to the setup. That's basically the same thing I do when it comes to running B fixed and C fixed, prepping for real life races. But you know, when I look at someone like Matt Busa, who's leading this race right now, I'm so thankful to have Ottinger behind me. I'm ready for the pushes. I'm ready for him to play blocker for me, because at the end of the day, for both of them, for William Byron, the team owner, oh man, I would be so happy to see both of my drivers in that playoffs.
There's a whole lot of blue inside of the top 4. And for this restart, we'll jump on board with the Logitech G onboard camera from Ottinger. He's on the inside of row 2 and 3rd. His teammate looking to win this race and get to the playoffs is that 97 Abusa right in front of him. Pace car down and in. 48 laps to go from Pocono. Green flag in the air. So it was a good jump from Ottinger. He will retake the number 2 spot. Tinsley not going to go down without a fight, though. Trying to get back to second. Not going to do it now. Your top 7 single file or so, but those teens, a whole different story. They're 3 wide, 4 wide now, 5 wide in turn 1. Conti's into the outside wall, and there they go. Kerwin spins, and he'll take some more with him.
A lot more with him. My goodness. Tucker Minter, Donovan Strauss, Ryan Luza. Golly, Evan. I mean, we've seen this a number of times this season where we eventually get to a point in the race where we're seeing 5 wide, but it's lap 14, Evan. It's so early to be seeing this type of desperation out of everybody.
I think it was the point that you had made in Countdown to Green, thoughts in New Hampshire, right? The desperation is set in, and I think that's pretty evident here. I mentioned this was in the teens. It was all around 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th or so, and these drivers can't pass up the opportunity. If someone gets loose, hey, I got to get 4 spots here. Let's take a second look. Again, it starts as 2 wide, and then the 33 checks up, so Kerwin's going to go low. Conti is going to go high. The 46 is going to go low, and they really just ran out of space. The racetrack itself is wide enough for 5 cars, 8 cars wide. The issue is, Ryan, that's not the groove, right? The issue is they all went up to the outside wall on the exit, and they all kind of got squished into the fence. So just because the asphalt's 25 feet wide doesn't mean the racing groove is, and they just kind of condensed and collapsed onto each other. Here's what Kevin King saw from behind.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, when you see guys go 4, 5 wide like that, there's nowhere to go. Especially when one car gets turned around right in the middle there, there's nowhere to go. Kevin King does a phenomenal job getting through that there, but you see it right here. Tucker gets slightly checked up right there, and now he gets put in the middle of 4 and 5 wide. They squeeze Conti into the wall, and it's just chaos erupting right in front of everybody. Cars spinning everywhere. It's a miracle that we didn't collect even more cars.
It was a pretty big hit. Tucker Minter got destroyed on the inside, and I'd say about a dozen different race cars going to get a walloping of damage in what is our 3rd caution flag so far of the afternoon. Matt Busa doesn't mind, though. It's just more laps led under the yellow. He's led all 14 laps so far tonight, trying to win his way into the playoffs. We're closing in on halfway home. You're watching the regular season finale of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Busa still leads.
Wendy's is open until midnight or later, so come get that Baconator.
Give me one honk if you want a Baconator.
Yeah, give me 2 honks if you want Tyler to make it.
Go night mode. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's Baconator.
There's a thin line in the NASCAR Xfinity Series between winning and losing, between being the future and being past, between headlines and tailspins, between making history and being it, between the sweet taste of victory and the fumes of defeat. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, there's a thin line between being a name they know and being a name they'll never forget.
You can keep it.
Back live from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway. Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Wendy's. If you're not baconating, what are you doing? The Baconator's got 6 strips of oven-baked bacon and half a pound of fresh, never frozen beef. So yeah, grab a Baconator today and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. And speaking of choosing, decisions on pit road under the yellow flag. Blake's just talking about it under the commercial break. Couple of drivers come down and pit. Tyler Gary, the lead driver who pitted most recently, 21st. Where does that put us in our pit strategy?
Well, I think that kind of puts us in a situation, Ryan, where you're always wanting to kind of approach this race backwards because you're not going to fall a lap down if you pit under green here. So most of the back half in the field, about 27th, 28th on back or so, or excuse me, about 22nd on back, decided to come down, get 4 tires. And Ryan, I think they can probably make it to the end of the race if we get another caution or two. So I'm looking at a lot of those drivers right now, and I actually really like the position that they're in.
Yeah, I definitely like the position that they're in. Here's the other part of it, too. So I feel like at this point, hopefully, we can all hope, right, that they got all the wrecking out of their system. But yeah, I mean, and we talked about earlier in this race how with the fixed setup, how important that draft is here. You know, Pocono, while we don't run in a pack like we do at Daytona or Talladega, the draft is still so important. And if you're one of those guys that needs to save fuel, don't downshift. You keep that thing in 5th gear, and you just try and ride in the draft of the car in front of you and hopefully save yourself a little bit of gas. So hopefully some of these guys, they might get a little lucky here.
Last year's race had 6 yellow flags total so far. Caution flag number 3 going to fall to the wayside this time through. To be fair, that race did have 10 different race leaders, 12 lead changes so far tonight. It's 1-1. Busa took the lead on lap 1, and he has held the ground so far. 3rd place has been a good place to be on race starts. Let's see what Tinsley can do from behind. Green flag is back in the air, and Tinsley immediately pushed by the 40 of Alt. Gonna get alongside Ottinger. The drag race will be for 2nd to turn 1. Four wide from 7th on back. Maybe they didn't learn their lesson as they get through turn 1.
No, I don't think they did. And again, you can start to see how that high side forming, the amount of draft that high side creates. If we can just get 2 or 3 laps in, if everybody forms up, it's going to be one of those situations where you build up a run and you try to go low at the last second to try and set up that pass, but it's going to get really hard to do so if everybody kind of forms up and pushes each other there on the top.
Wilson was all the way up against the wall on the entry to turn number 3. That's the least banked of these 3 unique corners here at Pocono Raceway. And again, this long and wide straightaway leads to some hooliganism. And look at the 46 Amoles. Contact with Wilson. Bit of a bobble from the 46. He'll right the ship. Wilson going to drive back down to the inside. And again, 2, 3, maybe 4 wide at moments as they're using all the real estate through turn 1 and have got that long trip down to turn 2. Been talking all year about the unique paint schemes on the Rise Esports fueled by Sunoco cars, and again, no different. Some more heat coming out of the 46 camp. Jimmy Mullis looking fresh as always and looking good on track in a top 10 spot right now in that Sunoco Chevrolet.
Well, again, he was somebody that came into this race, and he has a huge impact on how every other driver is going to approach this race. You think about those drivers like a Parker White, Malik Ray, Michael Cozy Jr., that points was going to be the focus initially of how they approach this race. If Mullis is having a good run, that pretty much puts them in a must-win scenario. And again, another great throwback here for Zach Novak as well. Again, Rise Esports, they have been killing it with the paint schemes all year. Hopefully, you know, one of their drivers makes the playoffs. If not, both of them have the opportunity tonight if Zach Novak can find his way further forward.
Good looking crew as always. And to that point on Mullis, I want to mention quick, right, again, he's got that win. He was able to get to the top 28 points last week. He has to stay there. He enters tonight only 6 points ahead of Wyatt Tinsley. Tinsley's third on track. Dylan Alt only 10 points ahead of Dylan Alt coming into tonight. Dylan Alt fifth on track. So Mullis has to be running good if he wants to keep his top 20, because two people chasing him down right now are ahead of him, and he's a top 10 car.
And I got to say, Ryan, did you kind of expect to see this many drivers, you know, the shots that we've had? I know I kind of like running the high line here at Pocono, but it's not necessarily a line that a ton of people will run. But I'm seeing a majority of the field right now that's kind of favoring that third, fourth, and fifth lane in turn one right now. Did you expect that coming in? Because I don't think I did.
Honestly, yeah, I did expect it. I mean, in the real life, you know, the groove is widened out significantly in the real world, and on iRacing, I find myself using that lane quite often to build some momentum. I mean, you see how long this straightaway is. Like I said in the pre-race, you could write a book on this entire long front straightaway here, so very important to get that run off. But the biggest thing that I'm seeing here, it's kind of like a bungee effect. This draft has been so important for a lot of these guys. You see them kind of fan out in the corners, but then back on the straightaway, they get into a single file line.
Well, again, I think it's one of those scenarios. You saw Kevin King a little further on back, that if you can make that pass on the bottom, you have to get it done right. You have to get it done in the corner, because if you don't have them clear off the corner, there's such a long straightaway. You're out of the draft for so long. Oh, as we have trouble in turn two, one car to the outside wall. It was Tyler Gary. They got shoved in by Derek Justice. He saved it, didn't go fully around, but significantly slowed up. Will stay green. Again, no full spin, but a lot of contact there in turn two.
It's a big issue for Tyler Gary as well. He came into tonight 20th in the points, 5 behind Mullis. I omitted him in my breakdown because he was so far back. He was live standings behind Tinsley, behind Alt, but that contact not going to help Tyler Gary's night out again. He's somebody who, if he wins this race, would be a top 20 car, would be able to be eligible for that win and you're in, but also, again, just how critical aside from that is staying in the top 20 to stay on this roster for 24, and it's a tough break for Tyler Gary. Live standings going to drop him down to the 32nd position and maybe more as he's got some more challengers, so no yellow for that one, but a tough blow for Tyler Gary. I'm trying to settle things out a little bit. Some single file in the top 10 is at least the race leaders temporarily play nice. Let's take a look bottom right, Blake.
Yeah, you're going to see this one more time, that contact between Derek Justice and Tyler Gary. And, well, they just kind of hook before they ever really get to the corner. And I would say that contact was made, that quick trip Toyota, Derek Justice, Ryan, at least from what I could see. That's one of those cases. I'm sure you're trying to side draft at the proper point and to complete that pass into two, but you can't hit him before you ever get to the corner.
I was going to say, you beat me right to the punchline there. That was a bit of an over-ambitious side draft there. You know, he was trying to get a little bit of that draft going down that straightaway to try and get that lunge going and put a little air on his spoiler and slow him down before making his way into the corner. But obviously, just a little bit of a miscalculation on both their parts there.
Pocono is such a unique racetrack, not only in the fact that it has 3 corners, but also in the fact that they are all so different from each other, right? I mean, you know, some racetracks, Darlington, you got turns 1 and 2, different from 3 and 4, small characteristics like that, but nothing really to the extent here of Pocono, right? Turn 1, 14 degrees of banking. That's modeled after Trenton Speedway. Turn 2, 8 degrees of banking. The tunnel turn modeled after Indianapolis, and then turn 3, the least amount of banking, 6 degrees, modeled after the Milwaukee Mile. Especially on a fixed setup, how challenging can that be for a driver? Is your car, if it's good in 1, is it not going to be good in 3? I mean, how's that dynamic?
I was going to say, anytime you set up a car for a race at Pocono, right, you are always sacrificing one of the 3 corners, whether it be the first, second, or third corner. Obviously, with a lot of times when you're a driver, especially going into this race, you kind of take turn to the tunnel turn there, almost like it's kind of like a dog leg, right? You're charging that corner real hard. You're kind of doing a light scrub of the brakes. So that's really not where all your money is gained. But this corner right here, turn number 3, super flat, super long and winding. It's so important to make sure that you get off that corner fast. So a lot of these guys, the biggest struggle there for any driver who goes to Pocono is making sure that you're smooth on that throttle because of that lack of banking to catch you. But it's also important to not rush it and get yourself tight on the exit.
Makes sense that 3 would be the critical one, because then again, you've got that long run down to 1 where all the drafting takes place, and somebody's going to be nipping at your heels to try to get after you. You see this single file snake, but they don't really stay single file for too long. There's always somebody looking to make a move. Again, Busa still holding the lead, 2/10 over Ottinger. You would assume with his teammate behind in second, he feels pretty safe at the moment. Tinsley, Bolin, Alt, they've all been up front. They've stayed up front. How about Caden Honeycutt, though, guys? 6th on track right now, up 21 positions after starting this race in 27th. He has made some big moves to get to where he's at now, and part of that, having started in the midfield, Blake, was just dodging all the messes that happened in the midfield to start.
Well, again, I think you saw the difference of those drivers who really recognized how this race was going to play out in the lanes you needed to be in to move forward. Now, of course, a little bit of luck and missing a couple of wrecks doesn't hurt, but I think Honeycutt is a driver now, especially kind of in position. He's well outside of playoff contention. A win tonight would not put him in. But he's one of those drivers, when we talk about the layers of this series, that if he has a really good end to the year, he can stave off relegation and not have to go down into the contender series next year. So this can definitely be a run that can turn his season around from that perspective, even if it wouldn't pay off in a playoff berth tonight.
And of course, last year's race here at Pocono, although it was not the regular season finale, was so consequential and so thrilling. One of the most exciting races of the season, and it all came to accumulation with that exciting finish. Blake, can we talk about it? The win and you're in. We'll see it here as we go through the highlights, the drama, the pit cycles, all those different things that set these drivers up for the runs to the end to eventually give us Casey Kerwin, Zach Novak head-to-head for the checkered flag.
And again, I don't think anything will really be much different. By the time we get to the end of this race, I think you're going to see a lot of what we see right here, 4 or 5 wide. Never really think of Pocono as a type of Dover track where everything kind of funnels, but especially here off of turn 2, we've seen some pretty big wrecks. We saw it last year. We may not be done with it yet.
Yeah, it could have convinced me that a couple of those big pileups were from tonight based on how wide they were making these race cars. And again, that race had 6 caution flags for a total of 18 laps under the yellow, 10 different race leaders, 12 lead changes. But this is what everybody was talking about. The 2-way, 3-way battle for the lead came down to Kerwin and Novak beating and banging all the way across the line. And it was that last hit there, pushing Novak up to the fence, that allowed Casey Kerwin to win the race by 6 1/1000ths of a second. That qualified him for the playoffs, and I think we all know what happened a couple of weeks after that, winning the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship. Tonight could be just as consequential. Again, Busa, your current leader, in a position to race his way in. We talked earlier about Malik Ray, the fact that he had disconnected from the session, had to reconnect. The 7 car is back in the race and back in 13th position. So Malik Ray has jumped right back into this thing after having those issues early.
Well, again, he came down, he got fresh tires, kind of forced by that strategy to go off cycle and try something a little bit different. So honestly, I applaud what he's been able to do here. It wasn't really his choosing, but it may just end up working out. Again, we've had a long green flag run since he came back out. He's been able to drive with fresh tires through the field. And again, Ryan, he's one of those drivers that he pit on lap 5. He wouldn't be able to make it on fuel from there, but he's in a better situation than a lot of drivers in front of him are, at least at the moment.
And the biggest thing, and the biggest thing for Malik too, is he's got to make those moves super, super fast. Like, you see, he's diving it to the inside, about getting his left front to that yellow line. All he's hoping for right now is that one car gets a little checked up on that top side lane, and he can squeeze his way in as he tries to there. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Big squeeze right there. I think that's Bobby Zielinski there. Squeeze Bobby Zielinski up there, but it's working. Malik's up to 9th now. Just a lap or two ago, he was in 12th. Now he's going to go to the inside. Oh, my goodness.
I know on Door Bumper Clear they have a Don't Give a Something tour. I think Malik Ray is in the midst of that right now. He is doing everything he can to try to get up front, and he is running his tires off. I think that's the other thing worth mentioning here. Everybody else kind of going about 80-90% right now, not pushing the issue. Malik Ray is 100% just doing everything he can. And, you know, with the situation he's in, Evan, I can't really blame him. He's doing everything he can.
Yeah, and somebody needs to tell Malik that he was only at the door bumper part of Door Bumper Clear there before he just ushered himself into a position. And listen, he's got the slightly better tires than the cars around him, about a 5-lap advantage after he dropped out and got some pit service. So Malik Ray doing everything he can. Again, wins out aside. He's a top 10 car in the playoffs, right? Top 10 car in the points, but because of those race winners, he's gotten knocked down. And he's got 2 issues. One was bouncing back from dropping out of the session, losing lap. The other is there is no scenario in where Malik Ray can find himself in the playoffs if Matt Bussa wins this race. That's the other problem. So it essentially forces Malik Ray that he's got to go for all or nothing, and his march through the field continues right now on the inside of Caden Honeycutt's number 17. They're going to make contact there in the tunnel turn. The 17 not backing down. Malik Ray said that was on me over the radio, but 41, 46, 18, they're all jumping on him. And there you see again Malik Ray. The minus 57 is irrelevant. He's not going to points his way in. What matters is all those cars in the top 20. So from the 48 to the 40, if they win, they will jump up and in, because that top 20 is the prerequisite for a race win. And Malik Ray is going all over the Pocono Raceway. That attempted pass on Caden Honeycutt's a net loss, though. He gets passed back by both Duval and Mullis.
What I don't understand here is how everybody's just allowing Malik to do this. I mean, we know how everybody's kind of protecting that top lane, Ryan, and I think this is one of those scenarios where, you know, everybody kind of has the same thinking. Everybody wants to protect the top. Nobody's really willing to go to the bottom and try to make that move. And because everybody's falling in line, you have somebody like Malik Ray who's kind of breaking the mold, and he's making it work out for him. I mean, he's the only driver who's getting clean air in the corners right now because everybody's running almost the wall, or at least up to it on entry in turn 3, and Malik Ray is doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, Malik Ray right now is driving like Denny Hamlin at a super speedway. When everybody's in a single file line ripping the top, you can always count on one guy to try and do something different. And right now in this race, it's Malik Ray. Malik is doing a phenomenal job just trying to make sure that he can put himself in a better position. I mean, remember, he came from the very back of the pack, but look at Steven Wilson here. He's running that top line. He lets those cars in front of him just kind of get a little bit of a gap, but watch this draft. He gets down the back straightaway, gets a little bit of a push from Graham Bolin. They may not actually physically touch, but look at the air bubble. Sucks right back up to the rear bumper of Wyatt Tinsley.
Steven Wilson has had his ticket punched for some time. Race winner back at Atlanta on March 14th to get himself onto the playoff grid. Looking for maybe a little bit of insurance here, a little bit of bonus. Again, all he's really racing for is an extra race win to maybe spoil somebody else's party. That's all the 10 can do here tonight. Again, he's highlighted in red. Left-hand side of your screen, he's locked in. Everybody highlighted in red is. And we've got some cars headed to pit road. Zelensky, Lopez, Doucette, you just saw them drop off of your leaderboard. They're headed to pit road here at lap 35. A little bit shy of halfway point, Blake. Worth noting those are all drivers who have yet to pit so far tonight.
They are, and again, they're just kind of playing this race forward, I think, in a way that, you know, if you get that yellow flag, you're not going to go a lap down here at Pocono. So those drivers that had no shot of making it, they're going to have to split it up. But again, as we've continued to go along, there is still a huge pack of drivers that pit at lap 15. And I know that fuel window is close to, 40 laps or so, or at least the laps that I made in this car earlier today was 40 laps, but that was without draft. That's without all the help that these drivers have had. So I have a feeling those lap 15 drivers, is everybody else who hasn't pit yet, is essentially going to match what they saw from Zelensky and Lopez, and they're going to come down this time.
You could have convinced me we were at Daytona or Talladega with the way that that pack came in together, and they were all led by race leader 97 Matt Busa. So as they dive to pit road in a group of 13 cars, Malik Ray will lead a lap, and he will cycle through to be the new race leader. First driver not named Matt Busa to lead a lap here tonight. All the cars on pit road. Looks like they're going for fuel and 4 tires, so it is full service on pit road as they race off pit road. Busa first of that big group of cars. Out ahead of most of them was Michael Guest, a little bit of a different cycle, and Steven Wilson gonna leapfrog Ottinger. He'll be second off pit road in that group, and now we wait to see how long everybody else will wait. Well, the answer is not that long. Malik Ray right back down pit road from the race lead. Bowden, White, Keister all follow him.
There's only a couple of cars, a handful. Michael Cozy Jr., Garrett Lowe, Derek Justice, Casey Kerwin, Keegan Leahy, and Ryan Luza. That's it. Everybody else has come down and pit at this point. So, again, I was kind of following on board with Cozy there a little bit during that last run. Wasn't clutching, but was definitely short shifting, definitely lifting a little bit down the straightaways. So could he find about 3-4 laps or so to try and save? The unfortunate part is here, Ryan, is that he doesn't have any draft right now. He's in clean air, and he's not going to get the benefit of that pretty much throughout the rest of this run, even if those on his strategy catch him. It's not really going to work out for him that way. But if he saved enough in the pack, he might be in a good spot here.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. If you're Michael Cozy Jr., what do you have to lose, right? You want to try and find your way into the playoffs here. And say if this race goes, even if it doesn't go to the checkered, right? Say if it goes another 10 laps. Say if it goes 10 laps here. You're most likely going to have to draw a lot of these guys back down pit road to get a fresh set of tires. So if I'm Michael Cozy Jr., I'm just hoping that either A, I see the checkered flag, but if I see that caution flag, it better not be within the next few laps.
Cozy, of course, in his rookie campaign, trying to match the likes of Lopez, Minter, and others, who are some other rookies who are on the playoff grid. So as we cycle through pit service, it's the cars who pitted early. We're going to try to stretch this one out to the end of the race. 23 laps to go from Pocono. Michael Cozy Jr. leads for the moment. Can Matt Busa get back up there? Which cycle will round out to be victorious? We'll find out when we come back.
I need to try it first.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Pocono.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at McConeySetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
This is it. One last chance at a playoff push.
We know what we can do. I'm ready to go to work.
A few familiar faces have already booked their tickets. Others are red hot at the right time. While a herd of hopefuls have some hard driving to do.
Around goes
Those last spots are gonna go quick, so don't blink.
Continuing coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of the eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. and by Pocono Setup Shop. Pocono Setup Shop is the original iRacing setup shop and is trusted by real-world and virtual professionals to get the job done. Visit MoconoSetupShop.com to see why they are the official setup shop of eNASCAR and choose a subscription to save money. Pocono Setup Shop, our setups, your victories. Welcome back live to iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway as we watch Michael Cozy Jr. try to play the strategy game with now 19 laps left to go in this Pocono 150 final race of the regular season on this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season. Myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Blake McCandless, Ryan Vargas in the iRacing broadcast booth. And well, Blake, what are you thinking here? The 38 cars out in front, 2.5 second lead over Derek Justice. The real number is the top 9, right? The top 9 drivers are those who have made that earlier pit stop. They're kind of the question mark to try to stretch this out.
That they are. These 3 drivers, Michael Cozy Jr., Justice, and Lowe, wondering how much they can try and push it to the end. I know those last couple of laps while we were under caution, I was riding on board with Garrett Lowe. He is fully shutting off the motor getting down into turn number 1, so no doubt about it. He even let Derek Justice by, I think, to try and help save a little bit of fuel. You can see some smoke back there off of turn 2 from some of these drivers who had to pit that are starting to make their way forward, but certainly so. Big difference in strategy here amongst these 3 drivers. Or really, I mean, you can call it about 6 or 7 or so. It's not just these 3 that are up front that elected to take this strategy. Casey Kerwin's also still out, as well as Keegan Leahy. Again, shocker that we're talking about Keegan Leahy in this scenario, former series champion, and how dominant he's been the last few years, and he's still looking to try and get his way into the postseason. This may be a last-ditch effort to do so.
Keegan was 17th in the standings headed into tonight's race. He's somebody else who needs a win to get the job done. So we talk about fuel saving. You look at Michael Guest and some of the other battles happening throughout the field. Ryan, what tools do you have to try to save fuel? You can obviously modify the shifting, lifting. I mean, there's draft is also a big factor, right? What's in your toolbox if you're trying to shift?
Yeah, we're going to go on board here with Garrett Lowe. Blake pointed this out in the break, and so this was a really good shot. But listen to this. Clutch and coast. And not only that, but he's keeping it in 5th gear. That right there is going to save him a ton of gas. And right now in front of him, he also has 2 cars in front of him. While not that big line of that big snake that we saw previously, those 2 cars in front of him right there are going to help him immensely when it comes to trying to get to the end. So I'm going to keep an eye on Garrett Lowe because he may be someone who's going to try and stretch it. And if I'm Graham Bolin, I'm hoping that Garrett Lowe gets the win because he already has the win. And I locked Graham Bolin into the race, into the playoffs.
And there's 2 questions. One, can the drivers who saved fuel make it to the end? The second is, Blake, is it still worthwhile? Maybe not for all of them, right? Garrett Maines is the last car on this tire save strategy, fuel save strategy in 8th position right now. He's about to get passed by Parker White, who's already pitted and can go to the end, right? So a certain number of these cars, even if they can hit that number, may not finish top 8. Maybe that's not their end goal, but some of these cars are already getting passed by the cars who have since pitted and we know are safe on strategy.
That is indeed the case, and that's something we'll continue to see unfold. Another thing to update, though, we were talking about Jimmy Molis and the fact that he needs a good points day. He's down in 28th right now. That is not, I don't think, that is not going to be good enough. And indeed, you can see he is outside the top 20 in points right now, which would let another driver in on points. Now, of course, we don't see that playing out right now because Michael Cozy Jr. is your leader. So not only what Ryan mentioned earlier, that you're kind of rooting for Garrett Lowe to perhaps take the lead because he's already a winner. Jimmy Molis is in 28th. Now he's in 29th, so he needs to pick up some ground. He's got a lot of cars in front of him. If he doesn't make up the ground, he doesn't make it up, it's over. And you can see right there, he's
1 point.
He's one point away, 1 point out.
And what that 1 point does,
and look, and now he's in.
Gets that spot, he goes back in, and what that did was it dropped him back up with his race win. And the person who's kind of at risk here, not only Cozy who's leading, right, that adds another winner, but the poor 48 cars pinballing all over the place, right? Boland's not going to be able to get in if we have a new winner and Molis stays top 20. He's the odd man out. So he needs either Mullis to drop out of the top 20 or for us to run a new race winner. Then he can get P10. Right now, Boland's in. If Mullis gets back to the top 20, Boland's out. So the poor 48 car is a ping pong ball right now, right on that cut line. His fate, unless he wins this race, a lot of it out of his hands as he watches what the other cars on track do.
And guess who's a spot or two in front of him? Graham Boland. I mean, it's just amazing how this is working out, that lap by lap, the playoff picture is changing as we speak. And again, he's going to continue to make up a couple of spots here for some of these drivers. Garrett Main stayed out on a different strategy because of the incident that he had earlier. But it is definitely not over for Mullis yet. And, you know, he's got some drivers behind him, and Kevin King, Conti, several drivers who will try to make his life hard or try to help their teammates try to make their way in.
So many different things on the line inside of the final 15 laps of this Pocono 150. Again, the 48 car drops back out as they run now. Mullis 24th on the racetrack. I think that puts him in a tentative tie for 20th. I don't see the 46 down there on the leaderboard, but remember, it was a 1-point difference. I think he's tied with the 66 and the 2 to satisfy such a requirement. So one spot in the 20s going to be the difference here tonight on if you make it into the playoffs or if you do not. So this one going to have to continue to cycle out again. In the meantime, Cozy, the big wild card here, leading, having stayed out. So he was on that playoff grid as we talked about it. Cozy hasn't had a bad year either, right? 11th in the regular standings for a true rookie. And the Speedy Cash Ford is trying to keep that momentum here into tonight and possibly try to put at least a third rookie in the postseason, which would be quite impressive.
It would be, but the more we go on, I don't know. Garrett Lowe is clutching. He's saving. Derek Justice looks like he's going to call off this strategy. But the more I see Cozy driving, it doesn't look like he's really saving that much. He's not lifting near as early as Garrett Lowe. So I don't know if he's just wanting the track position here and may run out with a lap or two to go. But, oh, now this changes everything. Caution is out. Kevin King is around in turn number 3, and I don't know if that's what you want to see if you're Cozy, because if you're the only one that pits, everybody's going to be on old tires. This, again, I think this is what you want if you're him, because everybody's going to have to pit now.
Yeah, this will be quite interesting. Of course, Cozy, Lowe, Leahy, Kerwin, they have all been out there 33 some odd laps. An opportunity for them to come down pit road, get fresh tires. Does anybody else, though, come down who have only been out there for a dozen or so laps? And again, how does that affect? Let's see what happened to Kevin King. There's near contact with the Duracell 51 and the 46, and then Mullis right there tries to get in line and just hooks him.
Man, yeah, that was just, I think, a slight misjudgment. He tried to get in front of Conti and, I mean, misjudges it by a couple of inches. Teammates nearly hit, but, yeah, that is, and again, that's the last thing that Mullis wanted, because I think he was going to kind of trend upward. But now you throw this race into complete chaos here with these late restarts, and I don't think if you're Mullis, that's exactly what you wanted. But, yeah, you can see he tries to move up in line, and just a misjudgment there on the 46 this part.
Let's see Mullis's perspective of this one as he hooks Kevin King for caution to flag, I think, number 4 of the afternoon. And again, it starts ahead of him, right? There's going to be a checkup. There will be contact with the 51 car up the road. We're headed off to the tunnel turn. They go into the corner. You can see some 2-3 wide in front of them. And then here's the stack. Checks him up a little bit. There's the contact. That's why he gets loose. So that's why he's off pace. And he's hoping, I think, to just slide in behind the 88 car. I don't know if Kevin King lifted to avoid catching the still ongoing checkup in front, but whatever the case was, Mullis thought he was going to get behind the 88. He did not. And there's the contact. So pit road open as we come off with 10 laps to go this time by. The decision for Cozy is to pit. You can ignore the 54. That's a lapped car. Garrett Lowe is in second spot. Does the 15 pit? He does not. Leahy pits. Kerwin pits. And it's a mixed bag from there on out. But Garrett Lowe on the old tires will stay out and become the leader.
You can see Mola staying out. I think he's one of the last drivers that's going to be holding on. Oh, man, I don't know if I like that call from Jimmy Mullis. So many people in front of you stay out, and you just need a threshold. You need to finish 20th, and now he's going to be one of the last cars on old tires trying to stave off new tires.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the first to get attacked by the cars on fresh tires, essentially.
I mean, of course, it's easy to sit up here and question this when we have all this information to us, but and who the heck knows how this race is going to play out.
Yeah, at least when we had the 6 cars who stayed out, you kind of knew the rules of the game, the strategy. Here, it's complete chaos. It's a 50-50 split, right? 3 of the 4 cars who were out there on old tires decide to pit, but I mean, it's a dead even split. You can see Mulla staying out as well. How many cars stay out behind him? 3. So again, he's going to be dealing with a lot of the fresh tires. He's going to be on 15-lap older tires. Ryan, what are your thoughts on that one? Again, it's if you pit, then, you know, there's certain challenges. If you don't pit, there's other challenges, right? So I don't think there's any perfect answer. And the fact that the field was seemingly split so evenly leads me to believe that nobody really knew what the right call was on that one.
See, I'm going to go on the side of I feel like he should have pitted. And here's the reason why. When you're sitting out there on older tires, if it was a 3-4 lap run to the finish, then I would say, okay, yeah, I understand this. But we're talking about, I mean, when we go back to green, we're probably going to be looking at 8-9 laps to go when we get the green flag. That is a lot of time you are going to be spending on defense. If I'm someone who's trying to work your way into the playoffs, the last thing I want to do is play defense.
Well, we take a look at our picks from Countdown to Green and check in with them. Casey Kerwin currently running in 7th position. Michael Conti currently running in 24th. And through all of that, Michael Cozy Jr. back in 29th. Again, all based on the pit strategy and how things will cycle through. And that'll update. Cozy's probably going to be in the high teens when they come back across the start-finish line. As that updates, yeah, 18th spot. So he jumps up a little bit, so it's a bit of a gain for him. But again, he's going to be right in the middle of it. And there is not a ton of laps left. By the time we come back, we're going to get 8 laps to go. But I think it's going to give us a lot of flashbacks to early tonight and late 2022 with the way that these couple of restarts are going to be. Because, again, there's no right or wrong strategy at this point. Again, Garrett Lowe, the only car who did not do anything else, either pitting under the yellow or pitting under the green. He's out there on 36-lap older tires. Then you have the drivers who had pitted, thought they were good to go to the end, and were trying to cycle up front. They occupy positions 2 through 16. They're on 16-lap old tires. And then it's everybody from 17th on back now, led by Cozy on the fresh tires.
And again, it's going to be a brawl back here because you want to be that first car that's on those new tires. And it can be Cozy who needs that win or may need it depending on it. If Jimmy Mullis falls back enough, it can certainly happen. Of course, if you want to follow along more with everything going on with eNASCAR, you can scan that QR code. No better time to do it than right now to get you caught up just before we have this restart. But man, there is a lot to be determined here. And again, we need green flag laps. That's the other thing we need. If you pit, you need this race to go green for these 8 laps or so. You do not need back-to-back-to-back yellows because you won't be able to use that tire advantage.
Yeah, you're just going to waste time under the yellow, not being able to pass. So those cars who are likely going to be the instigators here, maybe causing the issues on the fresh tires, they're the ones that need green flag laps to make it happen. We go on board with Dylan Alt from position number 10. It's the Coca-Cola onboard camera. 8 laps to go. Big jack up with the 20 car there as it's a bobble from Tinsley 3 wide off of turn 2.
They're stacked up, and again, they're trying to just find lanes right now. Cozy didn't exactly get clear. He's side by side right now with Jimmy Mullis, somebody he needs to continue to fall back. He's going to push Casey Kerwin, Bobby Zielinski, Corey Vincent. Those are kind of the first 4 cars that are able to escape with new tires with 7 to go. Now they can sort it out. Dylan Alt gets turned and unfortunately out of the way, but it is going to bring out a caution. The last thing that those drivers on those fresh tires wanted to see, and I'm sure that they were hoping that it was enough out of the way that it wasn't going to trigger a yellow flag.
Yeah, that's not what they wanted. Vincent, now the lead car on the freshest of tires. He was racing for 14th position when the yellow flag came out, so they were working their way through. But you go from having about 7 laps or so of green flag racing, cut it in half, because as we go under the yellow, those passing opportunities are gone. And well, it's a bad thing for those drivers on the fresh tires who need laps to make up time. It's great news, I think, if you're Garrett Lowe. I don't know, right? I mean, the 15 car holding on pretty good on 38 lap old tires. The yellow means he gets that much more opportunities to save if he still had to save it all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly very surprised he didn't get swallowed up here, as we're going to get a replay here. See Dylan Alt here going down the front straightaway. All seems good and clean here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. See Jordy Lopez to the inside of him. Oh, looks like a side draft again.
Oh, he molested him.
The car took out the Coke car, man. Oh, man.
Man, I don't know. I know the Coke Zero loses out in that battle, but Coke Zero will always be my favorite there. A tough break. Jimmy molested him on the run down to turn 1. Let's see the perspective of Tinsley behind.
I don't think Jordy wanted to try it first.
No, it's good news, at least for these guys. Listen, when I first saw the car spin, Blake, I thought he was coming back up when they went off into turn 1 and he was going to wipe out. How many cars we got in the field? 39. I thought he was going to clean out 49 cars. When you see a car go down like that, you're just waiting for it to come back up or skip the corner. But it's good news for the 40 because Dylan Alt doesn't damage his car at all, and fortunately for everybody else, they get away with it. Here's the onboard perspective. Again, it almost looks like deja vu with Mullis, right? The cars on the outside are driving by. Tough to tell if he's going for a little bit of a side draft or trying to just get immediately in line, but you just can't make that kind of contact at these speeds on that left rear quarter panel.
Yeah, it is tough, and again, it shows you how much being in that draft, being on that outside line really matters. And being able to carry all that momentum when you make that move and it doesn't work out. That was the one thing I was kind of watching further back in the field with some of these drivers that we had that came down onto pit road. Corey Vincent, Casey Kerwin, you know, they have so much speed through the corners over everybody else in front of them that's on old tires. But by the time you get everybody on the straightaway, you have momentum, everybody is drafting. It's a little bit of a different scenario. So these fresh tires, although they may be very fast, they have to get clear. And if everybody's 4 and 5 wide, there's really nowhere to go for them.
And of course, how big was that win for Garrett Lowe just a week ago at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with Jim Beaver Esports to get himself on that playoff grid? Meaning that just looking for a little bit of bonus here tonight, and the fact that he's leading again opens up that second points position to the 48 car into the playoffs right now in the live standings. Blake, Colin Bowden is up to 3rd after starting this race in 29th. You've got him dialed up.
Well, Colin, we were able to have some fun at the Cars Tour race at Hickory, but now you're having some fun. You're up here in 3rd. What are you going to try to do to win this race?
Man, hell if I know. It's a tough position. This whole E-Racer Connecticut Trust Realty machine is in. We're on 2 tires here. I would really like to be on the top, but I guess I could try. I think I'm gonna try and push Garrett into the corner. Maybe, you know, Denny Hamlin, him, just never touch him and just go on by him. Try and get a side draft off of him or something. I mean, I got to get up. This car has no horsepower, so if you get on the bottom, you just go back 37 positions one straightaway. So I really don't know what to do here, though. You got any advice? What do you think I should do here?
I mean, I think well, I don't know. We got Ryan. Ryan, I think you probably could give better advice than I can.
Man, my best piece of advice is just keep that mullet in the wind, man. I mean, you were doing a phenomenal job. You're playing the strategy right. Let me ask you this, though. How's the racing been tonight from your perspective? I mean, it looks absolutely insane. You know, watch it from the sidelines, but I want to know what it's like from your spot.
Well, I've enjoyed it tonight. You know, we're all on the same setup tonight, so it's really, you know, brought back the people that had that huge advantage, and those kids, you know, never leave the house and don't have nothing better to do. That's really brought them back to me in my position now, so We need to do more of this because it makes me better, because they just can't get better. They can just sit here and run laps, but what are they going to do, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, best of luck on this upcoming restart. It's been fun to watch you tonight, and yeah, keep it up there.
We'll try.
We're going to double up here, and that'll give Colin the inside position on row number 2 as he looks to restart in third. Again, another reminder, all those drivers highlighted in red on the left-hand side of your screen are already locked in to a playoff position based on the race wins from earlier this season. The only shakeup would be if Lowe could hang on with the 15 car going from 1 win to 2. So, again, with a already established race winner leading this race, there are 2 points paying positions available. That's the big takeaway, which means that not only is the 25 of Ottinger in 9th, but the 48 car there of Bolin is in the number 10 spot. But Kenna Malik Ray in the 7 car, you see him 11th on the standings. He's P6. If he can get up front, win this race, 48 cars out. Same with the 97, the 38, the 11, the 41, all of them. If they win it, the 48 is on the bubble. And by the way, the 48 car Graham Bolin, 14th, not necessarily in a prime spot, Blake, to fight for the win in his own right. So we'll see how much of his destiny is out of his control.
Well, again, I like that we see up front Michael Guest, somebody that runs NIS fixed all the time. I think fixed setups is definitely something that helps him. And I mean, he's restarting second up here, and he's one of those drivers. He's 16th in the points right now. A win would put him into the playoffs also.
Hoping to be as fast as Xfinity 10G right on the outside for this restart. So it is Garrett Lowe on the bottom, Guest on the outside. The 45 fighting for his playoff life. Pace car down and in. 3 laps to go from Pocono. Green flag back in the air. It's a huge run on the inside for the 41 of Dylan Duval. 3 wide, 4 wide to turn 1.
Oh, there's no way they're going to make it. They're 4 wide, they're 5 wide. We got fresh tires, new tires, old tires. Oh, they somehow all touch 4 wide and they keep it going. How in the world did they save that?
Turn 2's even tighter. Can they make it through the tunnel? 4 wide, back at about P10 with the 48 car on the very inside. He's got to be careful to not be in this accident. Up front, Michael Guest, new race leader at lap 58. Caution flag will fly. It's back in traffic. We are going to overtime, but the yellow was just late enough for Michael Guest to take the race lead. And he will tentatively jump up as a leader and into a race win column on those live point standings. So as the yellow comes out, Guest goes in, Bolin falls out.
And right now, Jimmy Mullis is in, but every couple of restarts we go, he is losing a couple of positions. He is going to be so close to making it in the top 20. And again, there's no refuge for him. He has entirely fresh tires behind him. It's going to be really difficult for him to try and hold off those positions. As we take one more look at it again, this is way out of contention for the win. I mean, these are guys back in 25th, 30th, 90th, perhaps even. And oh my goodness, what a run Michael Conti had. And then, yeah, you can see Ryan Luza there. Oh, tough hit. Inside wall for those guys.
It's been that kind of year, I think, for Ryan Luza.
Yeah, unfortunately, it has been. It's on board at Timmy Holmes. And again, I know this is when everybody who, again, their season's on the line, they're hoping they can sort it out back here and let these guys sort it out amongst themselves. You can see Kevin King into the back of Derek Justice. Leahy's into him. That's kind of where all that stacks up and starts right at the exit of turn 2, which is pretty much where everything's been happening tonight, or at least a lot has been happening tonight in that corner.
And just barely ahead of where that incident happened was Jimmy Mullis. He is not involved, so he will stay on track in P20. Again, he's the other wild card in this, currently shown as 9th on the playoff grid, which means that he is currently inside of the top 20 in the points. He can't really afford to be involved in an incident. Also, it's worth noting again, I mentioned the 48 car has got to be careful for Graham Bolin. You can't be in something because you're only 17 points ahead of the 7 of Malik Ray. That sounds like a hearty margin, but Tell you what, Graham Bolin, you got more than 17 cars behind you. If that spot opens up and you get into an incident, that 7 car can snatch it away. We do, as it seems we always do in these pinnacle moments, head to eNASCAR overtime. If you've joined us all year, you should be familiar, but we'll walk you through it again. Blake, green, white checker procedures. We'll have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. We'll take the green flag with 2 laps to go. If we get all the way around to the white flag, this race is official. We'll race it out no matter what. If a yellow comes out before the 1 to go, we'll try it again.
Yeah, so only a little bit different than what Ryan has to deal with. That if we get through to the white flag, it doesn't matter what happens on the last lap. It's all fair game. You know, Ryan, one point I kind of wanted to bring you in for these restarts. We know over time you get 3 attempts at it, but restarting here at Pocono is kind of an entirely different animal as a driver because you can't really see in front of you. Usually you're going through a corner or a tri-oval, and it's a little easier to kind of gauge when the leader's going. How does that change from the driver's seat? Because I know you have spotters that are a part of everything, but how does that change from your perspective when you're looking straight in front of you and all you can see really is 1, maybe 2 cars in front of you out the windshield?
Well, you're going to start with 1, maybe 2 cars, but then it's going to turn into 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 cars by the time they get down to the turn number 1. Restarts here at Pocono are some of the craziest in all of motorsport. I mean, you just see how much they fan out going down this really long straightaway. And if you're one of those guys who's just a little bit slow getting through the gears, well, good luck. You're going to be stuck middle of 6. But it's going to be a lot of craziness here. If I'm the 45 here, if I'm Michael Guest, I'm just all about hitting my marks here. If you can keep that car in the wind, you are going to have yourself a lot of an advantage when it comes to just all of the train of craziness coming your way from behind.
It would be quite something if Michael Guest could pull this one off. He has led only 3 laps so far tonight, and again, all of those are since he just took over the race lead moments before the yellow. Again, that timing so critical. That yellow comes out a little bit earlier. 15 car could be scored as the leader. Instead, 45 in front, meaning that Guest will have the opportunity to start for the inside of the front row and attempt to get that big jump and an advantage. Lights are out on top of the iRacing pace car. Let's kind of walk you through how they'll line up. Front row, Guest to the inside, and Garrett Lowe to the outside. Remember, Garrett Lowe's on 45-lap-old tires. Everybody around him on 25, 24-lap-old tires. Then you've got Bowden, Busa, they're row 2, Duval and Ray on row 3, Ottinger, Wilson, row 4, Honeycutt, Strauss, row 5. It is worth noting, of all those cars, Blake, who came down to get fresh tires, Corey Vincent is the leader amongst them, only up to P14, though, on the fresh tires.
Yeah, if you're on those cars, if you're a part of that group that has fresh tires, you probably need 2 or 3 more attempts at overtime. You need to get a couple of chunks of spots, maybe 4 or 5 times each. But what a huge win this would be for Michael Guest. 22nd in terms of all-time starts with 105. Has never visited Coke Series victory lane. Somebody that's been on the service for a very long time, a very capable driver. It mean a lot for him to go to victory lane and secure his spot in the playoffs for 2311.
He'll bring us to the green flag in his Xfinity 10G Toyota for 2311 Racing. The challenger, Garrett Lowe, sits to the outside. It's attempt number 1 at eNASCAR overtime. Green flag in the air. They're already trying to fan out. Malik Ray tries to go 3 wide, but it's going to be the 10 of Wilson to the middle. That fight's going to be for 4th. Guest a small advantage to turn 1, and look at the mess behind them.
4, 5 wide. I think they're almost 6, kind of in the mid portion of the field around Donovan Strauss and Jordy Lopez. But Guest is going to have the run off the corner. You can see them fanning out for position. And again, they're going to wreck for about 90th off of turn number 1. I believe that is Derek Justice. And we'll have to rack them up and try it once again.
It came right in that hornet's nest, center of the pack. And we talk about the nerves. That happened right in front of Jimmy Mullis, who managed to avoid the contact. And maybe the 46, his heart skips a beat once more, as it seems like they are all around that Sunoco Chevy, as he again is in a critical spot trying to hang on for points. And I don't think to anybody's surprise we'll be headed to a second attempt at eNASCAR overtime. The contact was in the battle for 25th position. And again, it's hard to tell yourself to not make it 6-7 wide, because if you don't do it, someone's just going to pass you, right? Look at that wide front straightaway, everybody using up each other, and it's just not sustainable when there's this many cars and that much real estate. It starts way up the road with the 38 car, and it just kind of pinballs through the entire corner until finally right there, the poor 31 car gets punted down to the inside wall.
Yeah, Justice gets the worst end of it, but I mean, one thing that kind of causes this funneling into turn one, and Ryan, I think you know it pretty well, that any amount that you can kind of roll up to these restarts is such a huge advantage. You can get out of line sooner, and you know, that's one thing at least I was looking throughout the field, or at least the middle portion of the field on that restart, is how much everybody is trying to, again, everybody's going to push the edge on how much you can roll up to these restarts, especially, you know, when you have fresh tires and you're looking to get out of line. But there's kind of a lot of games going on these restarts with guys, again, just trying to get that little bit of speed and momentum as they take the green flag.
Yeah, I mean, we saw right away as you see Alan Bowes get turned around hard on the outside wall. That's the other big bit of contact there. But one guy I looked at on the restart was Graham Bowen. He was one of the first that did kind of get that little bit of a good roll to the restart and jump out of line. And like I told you guys before that last restart, that 5, 6, 7 wide that you see going into these corners here, and the fact that all the wrecking happened behind that is absolutely insane. So, I mean, props to these guys for actually keeping these cars going straight for the most part that are in the middle of that pack. And, man, if you're one of those guys on that, on those fresher tires, you wanted this yellow.
And I appreciated the onboard. I think it might have been with Minter there, who was behind the 5 wide, and I think he was just off the throttle the entire time through turn 1 because he knew, Blake, what was going to happen.
Yeah, well, and how about Jimmy Mullis back to 25th? Don't know where that would put him, and if that adds another driver in on points that otherwise wouldn't be. But Kali, so yeah, Mullis lost a couple of spots there. He's got more drivers on fresh tires behind him. That 46 camp, Kali, they got to be really, really nervous right now.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a look at that top 20 battle. Again, that's the context for Mullis already having the race win, but needing 2 points his way to maintain a top 20 in the standings for that race win to count. And
He's
again,
out.
46 absent from those top 10, so he is outside of the top 10. The way they run right now, that is a huge development. Again, we talked about this on the open, and we're talking about it now in overtime. The storylines of drivers trying to race win their way in, trying to points their way in. I've talked about the 48 car up, down, up, down. He's probably been in and out about 24 times tonight, Blake. And it's all going to continue to come down to these restarts, which again, once we got that late race yellow and it kind of broke up those 2 very distinct strategies, it's been chaos. There is no set strategy. There is no right way or wrong way. And I think the only over-under we have to worry about is how many cars are going to be side by side into turn 1. I'll set the bar at 7, and we'll see what happens.
Everybody's going to be looking at where Michael Guest is. I mean, look at the standings. It's like right there. Michael Guest is in right now. But if he were not to win, if Colin Bowden or Garrett Lowe or Nick Ottinger, who would already be in on points anyway, guess who would be in if he were not to win? Malik Ray, the same guy that fell out of the server, was not able to start on the grid. Could he point his way in? He's going to be rooting so hard right now for Colin Bowden, for Nick Ottinger, for somebody else to win this race other than somebody who is a really good friend of his and Michael Guest.
And we can spend all this time under the yellow talking about the points, who's in, who's out, Ryan. If you're in this, if you're one of these drivers we're talking about, I mean, would you want to know this information? Do you, I mean, you know, what is the driver trying to focus on here? Would you be distracted by all these scenarios and you just want to go out there and race? Because there's so many things happening. I'm sure each driver's different.
Yeah, as a driver, I mean, really one of the big things you kind of know, especially when the guys around you, right? You know what position you're in, you know the guys that you need to beat, and you have an idea as to where you need to finish. If you're one of those guys that's on that fringe for the cutoff line there, you already know what you have. You already know who you need to beat. So if you're not in that position, you're going to be digging, trying to do everything you can. And this Mullis is tied at the line right now. But
tied?
Yeah.
0 point difference.
Oh,
so,
my.
This goes back to what I said about the pit strategy, right? If I was Jimmy Mullis, I would have pitted. I would have been on that offense. It's so much easier to make up spots than to try and defend with a hungry pack of hounds behind you. So definitely going to be an intense couple laps right here.
He's been struggling on those older tires, right in the thick of things with the cars on the fresh ones to fight This race could end with 1 position going to the playoffs based on points. It could end with 3 positions going to the playoffs based on points. And there could be a different first-time winner who's lurking in the top 5 or in the top 10 to try to steal it before it's all said and done. We will try it again. Attempt number 2 at eNASCAR Overtime. Guest looking to race his way into the playoffs. The control car on the inside of the front row. Colin Bowden up to second. Garrett Lowe is third. Green flag back in the air. It's a good jump for the inside. Guest pulls up quickly, though. There's no drafting help for Garrett Lowe.
They are already 5 wide around Michael Cozy Jr. They almost look 6. And right now, if you're Jimmy Mullis, you're at the back end of that line. You're the 46. You're just trying to survive. You're hoping something happens in front of you and you can miss and make up some spots. He's 3 points out right now. Michael Guest still your leader, though, but that may not be the case for long.
You see Mullis 100 back, 99 back for the car in 20th, so Mullis is 1 point out of the top 20, but here comes a big swing. Nick Ottinger to the inside of Michael Guest for the race lead. Both cars equal tires, side by side in turn 3. They're going to make contact, trying to get to the white flag for this race to be official. We'll get there. 1 lap to go as they race on the checkered paint to turn 1.
Ottinger is already in. How much does he push the issue? Because essentially he's taking Guest out of the playoffs right now if he were to hit him. Here comes Malik Ray with a huge run into third.
Malik Ray can get in on points, or he can get in with a race win. Ottinger goes low. He wants to dodge the draft. The 45 car, though, a Guest will not go away.
Malik Ray is going to have a huge run here into turn 2 if they go side by side. Ottinger up the racetrack. He's loose. Malik Ray going to look low down to the bottom as they wreck off of turn number 2. Can Ray get his first Coke Series win?
Tried to go to the inside, 3 wide, couldn't get there. Look at the 97 car, but he'll take his teammate out. Busa pushes Ottinger, but it's too much to handle. And Michael Guest will win at Pocono. More cars wrecked behind the line. What will those wrecking cars to the start-finish line do to the drivers who need points positions? What a run to the end. It looked like Ottinger might have had it. His teammate gave him a bump, nearly took him out, and who knows what's going to happen at the top 10 cut. All I can tell you is Michael Guest is a race winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and he will compete for the championship in 2023.
He may be in a dark room, but you can see the smile there from Michael Guest. Jimmy Mullis finished 15th. I think that's, or 16th rather. I think that's enough for him to get in. I think Malik Ray may be shy.
And you can see how much this means to Guest and all of his fellow competitors. It is lucky start 106. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, as Michael Guest gets his first career eNASCAR win and punches his tickets to the playoffs here in 2023. And yet again, Pocono delivers with a thrilling finish. Let's walk you through the final 2.5 miles of this one that saw a battle between the 25 and the 45.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look at how hard these two are battling. Malik Ray has fresh tires. Colin Bowden's not going to battle him. But right, we're going to see this around into turn number 3. 1, where did Matt Busa come from? And 2, I mean, I guess you're just trying to full send, but you're hitting your teammate. I mean, what in the world is going on there?
Well, and you see how much of a run both Malik and Busa get. This is all a product of our two leaders here racing side by side. They're side drafting each other. They get stacked. And God, look at the run Malik gets. I thought he was going to take him 3. Ottinger pulls the block. And then here comes Busa right to the bottom side. Gets into his teammate.
He was willing to wreck his teammate to get into the postseason.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know what to say.
And that wreck behind may have been what helped Mullis go from mid-20s to mid-teens. Does that get Mullis into the playoffs? Oh, the numbers being run now. But Michael Guest did what he needed to do, and that is determine his own fate. He wins here tonight at Pocono for his first career eNASCAR win. Blake, you're with our winner.
Well, Michael, I know it has been a long time coming. You have been in this series for such a long time. You've had these races go against you in the past. What does it mean to finally be an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series winner after all these years?
Feels great. I definitely wanted to win one of these before I stopped. I'm like 6 years in, so I'm glad it finally paid off. I've always considered myself pretty good at these fixed setup races, so I knew I had a chance tonight. Luckily, I had a great strategy in this Xfinity 10V network. Toyota Camry was amazing tonight, man. I'm so happy.
I'm sure you're so happy. Not only are you a winner, but you do it in the regular season finale. Now it's about a shot at a championship. What is your mental approach these next couple of weeks? Is now not only are you having to stave off going back down to the Contender Series, but you have a shot at $100,000 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I feel like I should have made it the last 2 years. Just didn't get the win, but I had the points to get in, so I'm really happy that I finally made the playoffs. But looking ahead, these tracks are really good for me. I knew if I could make it this year, I definitely have a chance. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Just definitely need to put in a little bit more work and get our qualifying down. I've started in the back probably 10 races in a row, so got to fix that. But besides that, we'll be on the hunt.
Well, I know you're somebody that always races your way forward. I've raced with you a long time on here. It's great to call you a winner and great to call you a playoff contender and championship contender, Michael. Congratulations on your first eNASCAR win.
Thank you.
Michael Guest gets it done for 2311 Racing. And coming up just shy here of this one, we're going to catch up with third place first in Dylan Duvall, another driver who kind of snuck in there at the end and had his shot at the postseason and missed all the chaos. Dylan, what were those last couple of laps like from your perspective?
Yeah, they were definitely wild. It was kind of a little bit of a frustrating race for me, to be completely honest. I started up front, and then I just kept getting pinned on the bottom on the starts, and there's not a whole lot you can do. You just need to really have the top, and I think, I don't know, 3 or 4 restarts. Like, right when we started getting the wrecks at the end, I was in 15th, I think, and yeah, I just kept sending it bottom, 3 and 4 wide, gaining rows at a time, and it worked. We got up there, and almost thought we were going to have a shot at it there on the last lap. They saw them start wrecking in front of me, but fortunately we didn't end up P1, but another top 5, and that's a really good result for the Eckridge 4 Mustang.
All right, Dylan, I know it may not have ended in the playoff run that you wanted. How do you kind of approach these next couple of weeks, knowing that you still have, a win to fight for, you have your team to fight for, but also kind of your spot in the series that you want to maintain as well?
Yeah, there's mixed emotions there. I feel like it's a little disappointing I didn't make playoffs. I felt like I had the speed to this year. I had 3 races in a row where I finished outside of the top 30, and really that kind of cost me my shot to get on points. So that's a little unfortunate, but overall I'm happy where we're at right now. Definitely a lot of things still to do. I want to get a win. We've been so close a couple times this year, and I really think that's something we can pull off. And then obviously I'm going to be pulling for my corporate teammate, Steven, to go out there and win the championship or do the best he can and try to help him out along the way. Then I have some behind-the-scenes teammates in there too. So also really happy for Mikey to see him get his win tonight. He's been doing this a long time. He's a teammate and a friend, and definitely happy to see him get it done.
All right, Dylan, thanks for catching up with us. And as you mentioned, his Stuart Haas Esports teammate will also have a shot to compete for a championship as the number 10 did last year. And perhaps there was nobody tonight that drove harder than this man in Malik Ray. Started from pit road, you fell out of the server, and somehow at the end of it all, you ended up with a second-place run. I mean, talk about your night. That's incredible what you were able to accomplish tonight. See if you can cue up your mic there, Malik.
Hello? Sorry,
we got you.
I had my mic muted. I started from I think like 30th or whatever. I had to come from the back, and then I fell out of the server and my game crashed, and then after that, I was just able to just try to just take the cars just one by one, and I was able to get up to 8th. And then after 8th, I was able to get to 6th, and then the white flag lap was just chaos. So
it was. I know for you though, is there anything else kind of getting down into 3? I know it comes up on you so fast, you have to make those moves in an instant. Is there anything you maybe could have done different getting into turn 3 or picking a different lane with the run you had out of 2?
I could have just had no regard and just tried to just drive through Mike, but like how other people were doing. But I just, I'm just not gonna race like that, and I showed that going into turn 3, I didn't make contact with anyone. Like even though I knew that if the car on the outside won, I wasn't just gonna just drive through them. So I'll just take the P2 and I'll just move on.
All right, we'll see where it all shakes out, Malik. Again, congratulations on 2nd, and we know that first win is coming. It's not too much further away.
Story of the night, first time wins as Michael Guest gets his first win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We take a look at your full race results tonight. Malik Gray, 2nd spot. Busta led the most laps in 34. He comes home 5th, and the highest car on fresh tires, Derek Bordeaux, could only get to P6.
You see a couple of drivers there. Again, so much happening here at the end of this race to try and shuffle the running order, but so much going on. But Evan, Ryan, this is what we care about. These are the 10 drivers that will be representing the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series in the playoffs and have a shot at the $100,000 prize at the end of the year at Homestead, Miami.
Michael Guest race and wins his way in at the end, and Jimmy Mullis does get to the top 20 spot, maybe aided by some of the wrecks on the last lap to get up to a P16 or so. He is also in. Ottinger is in. Those will be the 3 question marks that we had entering tonight to join the likes of Zelensky, Conti, Minter, Kerwin, Lopez, Wilson, and Lowe. 10 drivers, $300,000 on the line. And Ryan, there's some familiar faces and some unfamiliar faces to this postseason. It'll be fun to see how they battle it out.
Yeah, I mean, you see the common ones right there. Zelensky, Conti, Ottinger. Amazing that Ottinger hasn't gotten a win, but no surprise that he's able to consistency his way into the playoffs. But how about Team Dillon? Tucker Minter and Jordy Lopez, 2 rookies into the playoffs. First season in the Coke Series, both with wins apiece. They're in the playoffs, going to go fight for a championship. That's impressive.
It'll be a 3-race opening round at Michigan, Dover, and Phoenix to take those 10 down to 4, Blake, before we fight for the hardware.
Man, I just cannot believe what we have seen tonight. But yes, it is going to set up for one heck of a race. We know how much the draft mattered at Pocono. Well, guess what? It is going to matter at Michigan. Guys are going to be fanning out. It is going to be one incredible show. And with that, now we have an opportunity for one of these drivers to lock in to the stage for this championship.
They're all racing for a ticket to the NASCAR Hall of Fame on September 26th. But the road to $300,000 will continue in 2 weeks' time for the first race of the playoffs at iRacing's virtual Michigan International Speedway. That'll do it, though, for us here tonight from Pocono. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, Coca-Cola, all of our partners, for the massive team behind the scenes who make these broadcasts possible, and for your booth team tonight. For Ryan Vargas, for myself, Evan Pasoko, and for Blake McCandless, I want to thank you all for tuning in and congratulate first-time Coke Series winner Michael Guest, as well as congratulate the entire field of 10, because when we come back in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, August 15th, we are going to go playoff racing from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Pocono. The playoffs start in 2 weeks.